Hello and welcome to another episode on the Cybersec Migrant. It's good to have you here with us today on this episode. My guest for today is Samuel Aluko. Samuel, welcome to the Cybersec Migrant podcast.
Thank you very much, Femi. I'm so glad to be here on your podcast, and I'm thankful and I appreciate the opportunity to be here as well.
Yes, so for those who don't know a lot about you, tell us a bit about yourself, a bit about your background, your journey to tech and Canada combined as well.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. Again, I say this to the immediate because they're coming in, they see the end products. They really don't see the kind of work that we put in. Everybody has a lot of stories. The kind of, like I said, it's an opportunity to share my story. I kind of like this because I know the reason why we are doing this is just so that the people that are coming in will make the same mistakes that we made, and they can learn from us.
Exactly.
At the same time, I'm always excited to share my story because once I feel like I make that mistake for you, you can just ride on my experience and be able to kind of, if you take me 5 years or 4 years, I want to take you like this. So yeah, that being said, my journey has been exciting. Long story short, I've been in IT for a decade, back in Nigeria, always been in IT. Went to Obafemi University, Great Ife.
Greatest you are Great Ife. It's the same thing, don't worry.
Oh, no, there's only one Great Ife, just so you know.
Yes, only one. Undoubtedly, I agree with that. Undoubtedly.
Yeah, so I studied computer science. I think that was where my passion for IT security kind of started. I usually share the story. I had a nickname that's called Schoolfield. And one of the reasons why I got that nickname was because
Prison Break.
Yeah, was Prison Break. At the same time, was because I was able to download Prison Break's season episodes immediately coming out.
Okay.
At that point, most people don't have the internet, right?
Yeah.
The only internet we have in the university then were actually given to lecturers. So I try to get the episodes ready, also be able to give it to my friends. And at the same time, because of that, I have not been able to be out of wireless network when I was in Nigeria. Because anywhere I go, I can't break into the public Wi-Fi. I was doing all that for fun. I didn't know it would land me into this cybersecurity journey eventually. But yeah, fast forward, I was into IT, like I said, before I moved to Canada. And when I moved to Canada, I realized that I needed to start all over again. People I met said, okay, you know what? This is a different ball game. You're a manager in Nigeria. We understand that. But here, you need to maybe start all over again and pick up from there. But yeah, I feel like, okay, what's the niche? Where can I actually get? And I have several people coming up to me to say, do BA, do Scrum Master. If you look at my profile, I jumped on that. I did Scrum Master certification. I think I did two. I did TSM. I did.
Yeah.
But it wasn't what I wanted. And I was looking for something more. Then I realized that I have passion for cybersecurity. So that's why I went back to study. And I realized that my O-level certificate, which is university certificate, for me, I consider that to have expired. Then I jumped into going to postgraduate study in Durham College. I did IT security. Then, yeah, I was pushing so hard. I was so, eager. I was so interested in everything cybersecurity. I was able to learn a lot from that. And yeah, from there, I decided to continue to do my master's in IT security and AI. And that was where the experience started coming in, and also be able to link that to my background in IT, having the overall experience in terms of infrastructure, and now bringing that into cybersecurity, IT controls, and also the policies and framework, right? So it became so easy for me. I was opportune and privileged to get a job where I was doing a consulting role, right? And from that consulting role, that was where, I was kind of thrown into the sea, like working with several companies.
Sink or swim.
Into the sea, like swim or try to find a way to survive. And this gave me an opportunity to be able to do TRA for organizations, which is part of the requirement for them to be compliant and get their license from government of Ontario. So
Okay.
you can see how important that is. And I go through all the several domains to do the assessment of the risk and vulnerabilities and all that, coming up with several questions to understand the architecture. I was doing that on the side, but it was really a whole lot of work. And that's where I also gained access to be doing penetration testing for those organizations. So that gave me the broader knowledge of IT, and that was my journey before I started, coming up and working officially as a full-time job with several organizations and working with SNDL.
I recently held a couple of intro sessions to cybersecurity. But I had about 75 people sign up for those sessions. And one of the things I was saying that during that session was, maybe 15 years ago, if you talk about, IT security, or maybe 20 years ago, people would say, oh, you have to work in a tech company to be able to do security and all of that. But today, it doesn't matter. A tech company, either you're a mom and pop shop, either you're a convenience store, either you're oil and gas, everybody needs technology today because we're all in the cloud. We're all using technology, right? So cybersecurity has become critical, not just for tech companies, but like yourself, you're in the construction space, but cybersecurity is there. So tell us a bit about what does that look like? How does cybersecurity come to play in that kind of space?
Yeah, I think your point, right? You're absolutely right on that. Because in the digital world, right, you really can't survive. You can't do anything without having a new piece of gadgets or something that actually
Mm-hmm.
expose you, like have an application, boom, just the information is there and then you get some. You know, in that space, you just need to kind of understand and come to that realization, awareness that there's a need for security and there's a consciousness even for individuals to be able to be security conscious, whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not to talk of the industry and the space that I am currently, and the opportunity to work in several industry. I think the previous one was close to manufacturing and retail, both. And before that, I moved to, to construction company. So we are into crane services. So crane services, not necessarily that we are actually doing crane services for construction company, but we have partnership with most oil servicing companies. You see, lifting heavy duty, the rig, that's really what we do. So we have those cranes and we have those heavy lifting cranes and we work with most of the government projects as well. And looking at that, everybody, some people would feel like, why do we need to have security team in that space? But to your point, right, there's something we need to understand that those cranes and those people, and those processes, there's so much reliance on digital or what I call the IT or the applications that make those processes to actually work and go smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
that's where we
Mm-hmm.
come in. So they have an application that they have to use to sign in, to collect, to get feed, to log in, and to do all sorts of things. So this application we want to ensure that the security of our data on those applications is secure. Those schedules, those logs are also part of the organization assets that we don't want an adversary to actually hijack or be
Mm-hmm.
able to
Mm-hmm.
see. So,
Mm-hmm.
and again, because we have most of our employees, we have most of our train system actually work and connect, have the connectivity with most of these clients that we work with, I mean, the likes of Suncorp. And we also want to ensure that we have,
Third
our
party risk.
yeah, third party risk. We also want to ensure. I think before soccer want to kind of do business or partner with us, fine, it's just crane, but it's beyond crane. We
It's
just
beyond that. Yeah.
want to ensure that we are also security conscious and we have better security postures and security framework and policies in place to ensure that they also can protect their own information as well
Yeah.
as being shared between us. So yeah, that's where it comes.
And I think that's the key thing about business today. There's so much interconnectivity where so many businesses are reliant on one another. So many systems are reliant on one another. There's so much interconnectivity, and you want to be sure that even though you're connecting with two, three, four different third-party vendors or what have you, you don't want those connections to be an opening for a threat actor to actually get into your system, because then that can cause issues. So totally understand where that's coming from. And I think one of the biggest things that has come out of that kind of model that we have today, where there's so much integration from third parties, is risk management, compliance, and stakeholder communication. So as somebody who manages cybersecurity, how does that play into your daily tasks? How are you looking at those things around risk management, around compliance? Because there's so much compliance, particularly in a regulated industry like construction or oil and gas. There's so much you have to deal with. So
Yeah,
how do you do all of that?
there's so much compliance, apart from the regulation in terms of trade. There's also compliance in terms of, for example, if we are collecting credit card, right? My company is currently not doing that. If you're collecting credit card, if you have anything to do with saving, clients or vendors card information within your environment, you need to be PCI DSS compliant. And
Mm-hmm.
if
Mm-hmm.
there's some kind of reliance into, maybe for example, you are publicly traded, you need to be SOX compliant in the US stock,
Exactly. Yeah.
which generally my group company is actually publicly traded. So because of that, we need to actually do some audit activities every year to ensure that we have a proper IT control in place, that we are actually compliant with those controls to ensure that we are SOX compliance as well. So it's just not generally about the crane industry. But like I said, there's a lot of dependency from the crane itself in looking at that two crane on IT. So and because of that, we need to also ensure that we follow the same kind of framework, generally used standard. We need to adopt one, even though we are not, or we don't need to be, regulated. We need to adopt that so that we can be able to be compliant and so that we can be able to ensure that we are implementing proper controls and using the best practice within our environment to ensure that we are kind of secure. So that's where it comes to play. We adopt several, we have policies in place, we have controls in place, and not to forget that, case services is not just about the infrastructure in IT, but it's beyond that. IT security has gone beyond infrastructure alone. It's
Mm-hmm.
now even more of people process.
Yeah.
How do you manage the people as well? The crane operator that jump on the crane, it's also part of the processes that we need to manage. We need to ensure that they are actually following the proper organization
Yeah.
policy and the controls, and before we can ensure that those things can actually be able to work properly. So that's where the compliance and the framework aspect comes in. So and continuous evaluation of the risk from the onboarding to the access controls to several, policies and several controls that leads to our infrastructures as well. It's also very important as well. So
Yeah.
we continue to evaluate that. And that's part of my daily task to ensure that there are no risks associated to that. Those controls are properly implemented. And kind of review again. There's need to be a tweak or we need to adjust
Yeah.
based on the organizational objective. And one of the things I need to kind of mention again is how sensitive it is for me to kind of do this review. It's just so that you understand that we are working with screen operators. The screen operators have access to some applications, and we consider them as not knowledgeable workers. Right? Those are the people that are kind of a bit difficult to deal with, right? Not difficult in that sense. But what I'm trying to say is to kind of push the IT security agenda to
Yeah.
them is
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
difficult because you need to break everything to them to be able to understand what you're trying to implement in terms of the risk associated to, for example, just clicking on the feed, right? They have access to email. They can actually be, get fit as well. So how do you train them? How do you continue to create that security awareness? It would be easy for me to just talk to someone in the office rather than manage someone to create an operator. So that's where
Yeah.
that daily task, that daily work, that daily watch, that monitoring, that evaluation of risk assessments comes in because when you know the kind of business that you do, you need to also need to understand the kind of people understanding that helps you to do proper implementation of those.
Yeah, I completely agree. I know that one of my previous episodes, I was talking to a guest and he said, even if you have regulatory requirements you need to meet or legal obligations or what have you, if you are basing your operations on a security standard, so a baseline, maybe from CSF or from NIST or something or whatever it is, as long as you are meeting that baseline, almost always you will find that you are going to be compliant with regulatory or legal requirements because that's what the baseline does to you. It helps you meet that requirement, which is so important. And like you rightly said, in our industry today, the most important thing is PPT, people, process, technology, because you have to take the people, have a process for them to use technology to achieve your goal. And I think that's in recent years, there's been a lot of conversation around IT and OT, you know, because in years ago it was like, oh, IT, we have this system, we have this technology, servers, blah blah blah. But today we have now a lot of people say, what's OT? For a very long, I have people ask me, what is OT? And I'm like, operational technology. It's like, what does that mean? So in these days of IT and OT and IoT, how do all of these things come together? Because I know your industry faces this a lot, So how do you deal with those?
I think one thing you just need to kind of understand is the IT is the general IT that we see, the infrastructure, servers, what we call it, the laptop, the computer, and what we talk about. And this is what people are kind of familiar with, what a lot of people get used to, because the OT part of things seems to be behind the scene. For example, I work with a crane company. How many times do I have access to see cranes, which generally could be considered as part of an OT? Or let's say, for example, we have a manufacturing company. And those manufacturing companies have devices that have
Or
IoT
sensors, yeah.
sensors, chips that are actually the enabler to ensure that those productions of those products are seamless and faster. But most people don't go to the manufacturing company, to the industry, I mean, to the warehouse or what have you,
Yeah.
to see how those things work. So they don't have an idea. But over time, we realize that there's a need for the operational technology to actually come and play because one way or the other, now there are IT and infrastructure in IT that are also helping to manage and to power those OTs. That's where they come in.
Yeah.
And one way or the other, if you look at one of the research that I'm trying to do right now is adoption of AI in OT, right? Over time, there's going to be so much reliance on technology with the OT and how generative AI is being able to help in analytics and be able to provide some insights, insightful decision based on what we need OT to function. So that's where all this comes in, and you can see that they kind of play, overlap one way or the
Yeah.
other. That one is dependent on the other, and very soon that's what's going to be. That's where security comes in, not just to focus on the IT side alone, but
Yeah.
also to focus on the OT side alone. I'm looking forward to when we are going to have an AI powered plane.
Mm.
And at that point, that's when the IHS part of the plane services, which is the safety part, we needed to come in as well into IT, into OT, because you
Yeah.
just need to ensure that even as you're trying to make your plane services automated, you're also trying to consider how not to jeopardize the safety.
Yeah. Exactly.
Also, how are we ensuring that there are no adversely compromising the data and infrastructure that is powering
Exactly.
those
Yeah.
AI generated cranes so that the hacker hijack
Exactly.
this process
Yeah.
and you find out that instead of your crane to be lifting, it's dropping something on people.
Exactly. That's a big risk. I completely agree.
That's the really, really big
Yeah.
risk, and that's going to be a safety issue. So how do we kind of, so that's where this IT OT comes into play. Security is actually very important,
In those things.
in OT.
Yeah. I remember because again, these days we have so many SCADA devices, almost every device, like you said, if it has a chip, it can be hacked. And I think The biggest example that I can think of right now off the top of my head is, I know a few years ago, quite a few years ago now, there was something to do with the Iranian nuclear reactor issue where their centrifuges spun out of control because someone hacked into the centrifuge and made it spin out of control. That's exactly what can happen. Like you rightly pointed out. Imagine having chips on a crane that's supposed to lift, and the operator is lifting it, and somebody hacks the chip and forces it to drop the load. That's a risk. You have to deal with that. So you have to secure those things. So that's why operational technology is very, very interlinked and intertwined with IT, particularly with the rise of IoT devices. So very crucial. Hey, Cybersec Migrant listeners. If you're enjoying the show, help us spread the word. Share the Cybersec Migrant podcast with your friends, your colleagues, and your network. It's the best way to help others discover our awesome content and to join the conversation. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast platform. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and any other place where you get your podcast, so you never miss an episode. And do hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Your support helps us keep bringing you more valuable content, insights, and stories, and all these tips from the world of cybersecurity. And thank you for tuning in. And now, let's get back to today's episode. I want to change tack for a minute here and talk about something else. And this is a conversation I was having with someone yesterday as well. I was talking to somebody, and we're talking about the paintbrush that our industry looks like, particularly when we talk about leadership in the cybersecurity industry. For a very long time, it looked only one particular way. It's beginning to change, but there's still so much more that can be done. So let's talk about leadership challenges, particularly in the industry. And as somebody who is a leader managing people, tell us about your journey to get to that leadership position, particularly in a country like Canada, which is not a traditionally African country that everybody looks like you and me. So what are the kind of challenges you face leading a team, trying to push cybersecurity initiatives to people who sometimes don't look like you, who may or may not respect, there are those things we face, those microaggressions. Tell us about your examples. What have you faced? What has worked for you?
Yeah, I think everything comes with its own challenges, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know, maybe especially for people like us. So don't get me wrong, I try to see my color as a limitation. I think that's kind of what. First thing I want to clarify is I don't believe that color gives, even though I know it exists, don't get me wrong, but it depends on individual perspective on how you see things, right? I don't believe. One thing I want to do is, even if I don't get to that leadership position where I found myself in an organization, I want to be able to drop a footprint in that organization that's what someone was here and get a replacement of that someone. And someone could ask you that, okay, if it was here and really get a replacement, why don't you do all the things to actually keep it?
Exactly.
So that is always my goal, and that's always been my objective, and that's always been the trademark I've left in every organization I've worked in. And I think that's mindset has actually, paved way for me to kind of move into the leadership role faster than I expected. I think one of the things I will say again is a couple of times I've worked with three different managers that always say this word. This word always makes me happy. When we have a one-on-one session, they always say there's something about you. You are not going to be here. Like I feel like you know more than this. There's something about you. You bring it change, you bring it transformation, you bring it innovation into the organization. Now, am I happy about it? Yes, of course. I don't even show it. I just continue to do more. And, it has been a wonderful journey. I remember my first job with RBC, and that's been one of the critical stories that I share, right?
Tell us.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I couldn't believe that I went for an interview, to be precise, in January 28th in Canada. And I was just looking to get myself into, I've not finished my postgraduate study there, right? And I was just trying to explore how does interview look like, apply for jobs, apply for internship, apply for some things like that. Then I applied for this kind of full-time internship kind of job. And I got called for an interview. another story for that day. My wife had an accident, and I'm not supposed to go for the interview, which kind of led to my car was totally written off. That's another story. I still went for the interview, right? And yeah, the interview, one of the things I remember in the interview was that when they asked me the first question, I got up on the interview stage. And what I saw on the table was a marker. And I picked up the marker and I jumped on the board. And I stood there on the board throughout the interview period. I was just drawing, I was just giving them topologies, architectures, drawing and everything. Long story short, what was interesting to me was that, yeah, like I said, the interview was on the January 28th. And the manager asked me that, okay, when do you plan to resume? And I said, honestly, I'm still doing my postgraduate study and I will finish by April 24th. So she was like, so that means you are not ready to join in 2 weeks. I said, no, I can't join in 2 weeks. I need to finish my postgraduate study. And I was just like, okay, I think I'm fine. I loved the interview. I enjoyed it. And I went back home. And a week after, I got a call from the recruiter saying that the hiring manager is happy with my interview and she would like to continue with me. I'm like, okay, that sounds interesting. And in my mind, I was like, I hope you guys know that I'm not even ready to start working next week. So don't even bring something. So I asked the recruiter on the phone that, you know what, I'm not ready for this right now. But like, yeah, she knows that, yeah, she said you can resume on April 27th. And I'm like, are you being serious? You're calling me first week in February and you're telling me I can resume
in 3 months' time.
You know, I was like, that's what I do for Canada. That kind of.
I know the feeling.
You know, the feeling, I was so excited. At the same time, I was like, okay, what should have seen in me till you kind of waited that long? And another story was, you know, that was kind of a success story to tell me that, you know what, just keep pushing, just keep doing what you're doing. And leading to my leadership experience too, you know, I moved to Edmonton from Toronto and I needed to get a job badly. I've been moving, trajectory, slow to get into senior technical, whatever, but I still needed an IT security job. And I got this job, an IT analyst, and I appreciate the manager that gave me the opportunity to work with him. And yeah, I got a job in December as an IT security analyst. And I was doing what I was supposed to do. We had a target. He made the goal so plain during the interview. I needed someone to conduct my PCI DSS activity and get us from here to here. By July, we want to ensure that we are compliant and we've done everything we want to do. We understand that you have this experience as an external consultant, but we are bringing you in to be able to do the compliance process for us. And I said, okay, bring it on. Let's do it. Long story short, by July, I was into it. We had it done. But before then, I didn't know what he saw in me. Yeah, wonderful manager. And he called me one day, that was around March. That's 2021, December. 2022, March, I think March or April, he called me in and was like, he has something for me. I was like, yeah, what is this? Yeah, let's have a chat. And he gave me a letter offering me to be a manager and leading the department, creating the department of IT security and be a manager. I was like, how is that possible? An IT analyst to become a manager, right? You know, there's something even before that, and I know there was something that I've seen in me because we're kind of very close. We chat a lot, and there's something I'm sure you're going to be listening to this podcast. I'm sure you will do that. There's something you used to say about me that, you know what, I've had several people work with me, but there's something about you that when I talk about something, about initiative or about implementing something, you are the only one person that will ask me questions. Like, I will ask him questions like, why do you think we should do this? Then we talk about it, we analyze it, we start chatting about different ideas, and we'll be there for like maybe 2 hours discussing that, and we'll come up with a very good and a better approach. And I always like chatting with you. I love that with you. I always want to engage with you. And I don't know, maybe that's why you felt like, you know what, you should be able to lead the department. And you gave me the opportunity and I did that for almost 2 years. And yeah, there's a lot of challenges, seeing myself having to bring people to align with, um, the process, the organization goal in terms of security. A department that doesn't really have a security department, and having to have someone to report to me. The challenge for me was to start learning about leadership skills, which is totally different from the leadership skills that we had in Nigeria.
Very true.
You need to understand how you start managing people rather than managing the job. In Nigeria, we manage the job. We want to be bossy to ensure that I'm your boss here. You need to understand that you need to always say yes, sir, every morning when you talk to me. But in Canada, over here, it's a different ballgame.
Different,
You are more of resolving conflict. You are more of having emotional intelligence skills in place. That needs to be high up. And sometimes if somebody just talk to you, what will you do as a leader? You need to, be receptive and be able to kind of address that in a way that it will not, bring some negativity into the whole, team. So that's a lot of things that I try to quickly adjust to, and quickly understand how to navigate my way around understanding and managing people. So someone was reporting to me, and another one was reporting to me, and also having to collaborate with several functional team as well. Because I used to work in the silo before, but now as a manager,
no more silos.
No more silos. You just get called. You're no longer doing more of operational job. You're not doing more strategic job.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
How do you ensure that you communicate your idea and that you're not being offensive? When you're trying
very important
to people. So there's a lot of learning process. I come back, I kind of refresh and evaluate my daily activities to ensure that how have I not been able to be aggressive, to do. So there's a lot of challenges, but at the same time, you just need to kind of understand those challenges and quickly adjust to that as well. So, yeah, that's been my journey. So those are the challenges. There seems to be more work, but at the same time, you just need to ensure that there's a balance.
It's a balance. Piggybacking on that, if someone were to come to you today and say, Samuel, I'm working in IT security already, I'm a cybersecurity person, but I would like to become, a leader tomorrow. What are the skills you think I need to cultivate? What skills should I cultivate? Or what certifications, if any, should I take to help me become or position myself to be a people leader in cybersecurity tomorrow? What would your advice be?
Yeah, I think the first thing is I would want to see from people like us, especially coming from African Nigerians. One of the things I realized is we just want to work in silo. You just want to just give me my task, let me do it. I will do it professionally and I will deliver. But in this part of the world, it doesn't work that way. You just need to understand that. And that's why they ask in many interviews that how do you think you can actually be able to collaborate or work with teams or cross-functional teams. They want to know how you can be able to bring innovations into the team, how you can work with other team members that are not even within your department. How can you make your presence known? I just said something about somebody sending something to me about an assessment from clients. That question is not coming from, just so you know, it's not coming from IT. It's probably coming from head of IHS. That's cross-functional team. So you need to be able to sometimes I work with HR. You need to let them understand several frameworks, several policies as to what is required to get onboarded done and onboarding done. So you need to understand that you will be working with a lot of cross-functional team as a leader, and you don't want to get to that position before you start doing that. So go out there, make contributions as much as possible to any task that you are given. If there's a project in the department, volunteer or show interest and grab it. It doesn't have to be like you are doing this task alone. I think I am who I am today because of interest in several things. People wonder why am I able to talk in several domains in security? It's because I explore. I want to talk. I work with the technology teams. I work with the infrastructure teams. I read more about network security. And I'm trying to put myself out there to engage as much as possible to see how we can actually work together and collaborate with these things. And while you're doing that, trust me, somebody is noticing that. Your manager is noticing your contribution. The manager is noticing how you will be able to transform and change the team to be able to understand, do have like going out of your box to kind of do things, right? It's very important. So don't just it's not enough to kind of work on the task assigned to you and you do it very well. Yeah, that is just being there's something we do in performance. I can't remember what it is, but let me paraphrase. It's like we define that particular status as yeah, is this employee is able to do what he's meant to do, is employed to do. Then there's another level of that performance, maybe like we grade it to like 4 and it's saying of 5. This employee is doing much more than what is expected to. And there's 5 part of it that's saying like the employee is bringing innovation and bringing ideas much more than is expected to do. So that we want to be at that number 5.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Yeah, and if you notice that here, you just realize that somebody is jumping to a conversation and is just saying something, but we want to like, way to survive. But that's what it is. That's what we want to see. You need to
Initiative.
keep engaging. Initiative. No idea is stupid. Just say it. Just say your mind. Bring in something. And by the time you bring it, you'll be surprised that by the time somebody, you might be like, somebody might just pick something from me that like, that makes a lot of sense from everything that you've said. And that's what it is. That's what actually push you out there. Now, the second question, in terms of certification, like I said, I think we discussed it before.
We spoke it before, yes, we have.
I'm not a fan of certification, but right now this year, I have a target to actually be talking to all. I've told all my mentees, you know what, go and get certification. And the way I explain this, it's not just because it's going to take you far. Again, looking at it from the perspective of branding. It's going to brand you and it's going to brand the organization. As an organization, like we said when we started, everything there's a reliance on technology. And because of that involvement, there's a reliance on security. Security is becoming so evident in most organizations right now. What that means is every organization wants to ensure that they have a proper person that is managing organizational infrastructure. And how do I know, or how do the stakeholder, for example, my company, for example, is publicly traded, and they want to be saying that there's hacking going on, there's different data breach. You want me to invest in this stock. How do I know that there's someone in your organization that can manage my security in terms of my information properly? I just probably go to LinkedIn. I'm not saying that's what they do, but I just currently go to LinkedIn and I want to see the cybersecurity guy that's working for this company. And when I see CISSP, CISM, CSP, Masters, I'm like, okay, this seems good, right? There's something in place.
Perception.
That perception, that's what I'm saying. Like, so get as many certifications as you can. That branding on the other side, again, I'm also an advocate that don't because of certification on your name get certification. It's a learning opportunity. Cybersecurity is continuous investment, is continuous learning. Take it as much as possible to learn. Test yourself, like you rightly said, you can know how to drive, but if you don't have a driver license to test yourself, you still not be considered like you know how to drive. So as much as you acquire that experience, you acquire that knowledge, you learn from job or you probably take courses, try to do certification to kind of certify you. That's the word, that you know how to do this. That's what I kind of encourage people to do. And before you know it, you're doing those self-investments. But like I said, somebody's looking at you and say, I think you are more than where you are right now. And they might give you the opportunity to become a manager tomorrow. Which I feel like that was my own story, right? So
I think that's everybody's story, really, if you face it. Most people, even myself today, somebody will look at you and say, you know what, I think you can do so much more than where you are. Take this opportunity, and I'm sure you will do well with it. And again, continue to do well. So I think that's the thing, because you know how they say, dance like nobody is watching. You'll be surprised. People are actually watching. People are watching. What you do is going to determine what people are going to, how people are going to take you. Um, that itself can actually make or break, a successful future, particularly when you're moving up the ladder into a senior role or into a leadership position. So, just to round up, closing remarks, you've said so much already today, talking about, we've talked about how IT and OT are very important, how security isn't just, the IT stuff, but again, how does everything all come together? What are the risks? How do you do compliance? How do you do risk management? Communication with stakeholders. And of course, we've talked about, how, especially getting into a leadership role, it's important to think of not just the role, but how does it affect the larger company as a whole?
exactly.
So, final thoughts to round it all up for our audience today.
Final thoughts, especially for those that are trying to get into cybersecurity, and for those that are trying to get into the leadership role. Something I've not really mentioned is two things. The other one I don't really do. This first one, I think I do it. So the first one is I will start from mentorship.
Yeah.
Look for someone in the industry that you feel like this is who I want to become. Like one of the things I did when I came to Canada was when I was doing the IT security, I searched for people that have actually been a CISO, especially black, on LinkedIn. And you'll be so surprised. Like if you Google that, you'll see a lot of black people that have been a CISO. I'm like, really? You're a CISO in an organization? So I feel like I can be a CISO one day.
Yeah. Inspiration.
Inspiration. Yeah. I saw someone that saw value in me when I was in the college and gave me the opportunity to work with him. And this is a vibrant person. Actually, one thing I love about him is I don't know how he does it. When I tell you that, oh, I just got this job, it's a leadership role, blah blah blah, and the next 1 minute he says, okay, that's a good one, but you can do better. I'm like, are you okay?
It's pushing you to do more.
No, it's always pushing me to do more.
Yeah.
To interestingly, I'll be posting something on LinkedIn after this chat. Interestingly, this same person is still pushing me to do more and has invited me to a CISO forum to be part of the panelists, which I'm going to be attending in Toronto next week.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw I didn't post the other one that was going to be part of the panelists. That's what I was going to attend it. He keeps pushing me to try to do more. He's telling me about my achievement, telling me about what I wanted to do. It's just like as if I've not done anything. I'm like, but when I go back, I still kind of reflect on that and I want to do more. I want to speak like him. I want to be a moderator in cybersecurity like him. I want to so it's part of my journey to do what I am today. When you have that mentor, it's always a kind of good to kind of push you. And that's the same thing I kind of replicate with people that are my mentees. I kind of push them. They come talk to me, I've done this, I've done that. It's not as if you've not done something, but like, you know what, have you created this lab?
More.
Have you look at this? What are you doing right now? Oh, yeah, you can do more. Like, just so then the second one is try to network as much as possible. And in networking as much as possible, for us we are always very is it inclusive? What's that word? Like we just
inclusive,
yeah. One thing I've realized here is I've seen people that are doing something big, let me put it that way.
In quotes. They're gatekeeping it.
What have you done? The way they are saying it, the way they are presenting it, it's so huge and it's so big, and they keep repeating it, they keep networking, they keep talking about it, and people begin to see them like, okay, you are there. And the more you talk about it, the more you become more into it, and like you're networking, you're talking. So I'm learning how to do that as well. Go to an organization, what's your elevation speech? How can you sell yourself within the first 30 seconds or 1 minute that you made the post.
Yeah.
What are you saying about yourself? What are you working on? What is the project you are doing? Are you engaging with those individuals to have a wonderful conversation that you can actually be able to exchange, not just LinkedIn, but the person is interested in you to say, you know what, Sam, I'm trying to develop a policy with this framework. Can you just come in and just help?
Help me.
Help me. That is the kind of thing you want to kind of build. Like, and all you just make is just a function, but you've been able to sell yourself that this is what you can
Yeah.
do, and the
Yeah,
person is seeing you
exactly.
as a subject expert in this. And like, you know
Yeah.
what, you can just call me, we can just brainstorm. Let's go for a coffee. Let's talk.
Yeah.
That's it's not part of what we do as an immigrant because it's not what we do. We don't even go for a coffee here.
It's not something we are used to in our
It's not something
country.
we're used to, but we just need to
Yeah.
kind of take that out.
Yeah.
Try as much as possible. I tell people register for free conferences, either virtual or anything. And when you listen to the virtual conferences, don't just listen. Make contribution as the presenter, as the panelists are talking. Talk about something, add your own contribution, talk about your exposure and what you know. And someone in that team can actually notice you. And I've attended conferences that just make contribution, and before you know it, you see, boom, 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 people are
Yeah.
adding you on your LinkedIn.
Exactly. That happens all the time.
Yeah, so that is one of the ways. That's one of the things I just want to say to people out there, especially for us as an
Yeah.
immigrant. And if you do that, trust me, you will get to that position where, especially I think I see something right now that I'm working myself to that position where I won't be able to, I won't apply for a job again.
They reach out and say, hey, come and do this for us.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the current job was actually through reach out. I didn't have plans to leave. I didn't apply for any job. The recruiter that has noticed me, reach out to me and like, I have this opportunity. Would you like to yeah, bring it on, jokingly. And here I am today. So that's just what I want to say. You never can tell what this networking thing can actually lead you to. It can actually lead to your success story at the end of the day.
Yes. So 2 things. Find yourself a mentor that's going to motivate you to be the best version of yourself and network. I was looking at something Dr. Mukhtar Lasisi put on LinkedIn yesterday. I don't know if you saw his post yesterday. And he said something about thinking outside the box. And that's the problem many of us immigrants have. We come with a mindset of everything has to fit within this box. Yeah, but the truth is the best opportunities are just outside the box. So step outside the box to be able to find that. So
outside the comfort
zone. Yes. Yeah. Because it's easy to stay in your comfort zone. You understand the area. It's so warm and comfortable. There's no wahala.
Yeah, trust me. That's actually there's no wahala, but it's a risk.
Exactly.
Even in this own IT, security space, the technology, the things that you know yesterday,
obsolete tomorrow.
I was reading something, was catching up yesterday. Today, one of my projects I'm going to do this weekend is to deploy Linux Purple. I just stumbled on it last 2 weeks. I was like, okay, Linux Purple. I'm used to Linux, Kali Linux, which is on the offensive side. And I realized that Linux Purple is on the defensive side. So I want to learn about it. It's kind of new. And that's why you just want to stay out of the box and what you're saying, like not on your comfort zone, challenge yourself, kind of push to kind of learn more. Yeah, so you're absolutely right on point. I will look for Dr. Assisi.
He posted it yesterday and I saw that and I was like, this is very apt and very true.
This kind of nuggets, and I'm like, okay, bring it on.
But you do too. Everybody, in case you do not know, every day Sam posts on LinkedIn. He posts something, some little cybersecurity snippet or tip every day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to his LinkedIn profile in the comments down below and the show notes as well. So go on LinkedIn, follow him. I know that since last year he's been doing this every day without fail. He posts a little cybersecurity tip on LinkedIn, either for password security or cybersecurity hygiene, all of that. So if you want all of that information, go follow Sam on LinkedIn.
The reason I do that is because when we talk about the PPT, right? The people part of it, I feel like it's more of individual than the organization. People in the organization are more conscious of security. But I feel like if you can be security conscious from where you are, the little thing, your application, what you use in your home. It will be easier for you to be security conscious. Even when we are talking about phishing awareness and what have you, the policy control, don't turn on your system, ensure that you lock it when you are leaving your table, don't write password on the wall. All those things would have been so easy if I'm able to catch people with few cybersecurity tips and they get it, like they become conscious of it. Changing your password regularly, how to, have a strong password. It's in the policy, but it doesn't have to get to that policy stage before you know that this is the
This is how
normal
it
thing
should
that we
be.
should do in the 21st century. So that is the way I'm putting those nuggets out there to kind of help people to be security conscious and with that, applications, few things that you use in the house, just kind of, you can do that security whatever you're with. So that's
So on behalf of the audience, I want to say thank you for that. Thank you for putting all that. I keep on following those as well. So like I said, there's going to be a link in the description below and you can follow him up. But on behalf of the audience, I want to say thank you so much to Sam for coming on today. I've learned a lot. I didn't realize the time has gone so much already. So
it feels like it's almost 1 hour, right?
It's almost an hour doing this. And I didn't notice when the time went by. So on behalf of the audience, I want to say thank you to you, Sam, for coming on today. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think. Share this with those who you think might also benefit from this as well. And then always remember, you are the architect of your own success. So you deserve and you owe yourself an obligation to be the best version of yourself that you can be. So go out there, be strong, be the best version of yourself. This is Femi signing out on this episode of the Cybersec Migrant podcast. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.